For the last couple of months, we've been getting educated on the Robert Alexander Center for Recovery, and we've been doing that via their employees because they all have special experiences and a lot of passion. This gentleman is no exception. He is Chris Badamo. Is that right? Badamo, Chris?
Badamo, yes, sir.
Badamo, very Italian.
Oh, yeah, very Italian, yes, sir.
You are a drug and alcohol counselor, and in our brief conversation, Chris, you've said passion probably 3 times. You are passionate about what you do. Tell us why.
Very passionate about what I do. I just want to be part of the solution. I have had some dark times. I've struggled with drugs and alcohol in the past, so it's more than just a job for me. Like, I want to be able to help people, let them know that there's hope, and be part of the solution and just give back, to the community, to people struggling with drugs and alcohol, people who struggle with mental health. I want to be there for them, be a light for them, to let them know that there is a way out of this, that there is a better way of life, that there is hope. Very passionate.
You know what I see in you, Chris, and I've seen in other employees from Robert Alexander, is you guys believe in yourselves, and that's kind of where it starts, because if you've ever met or known an addict, they have very little self-worth, it seems to me. They don't think much of themselves. Is part of the process, you as a counselor, whether it be in group or one-on-one, is it building them back up, or do you have to tear them down and then bring them back up? How does it work?
I try not to tear them down too much. For some people, that is part of their therapeutic methods. I don't want to tear them down too much and get them too low of a point. I want to help them build their self-esteem back up, build their self-confidence up. I will be there for them to let them know that they are worth it, that they do deserve this life. I'll validate them, and then hopefully they can start to believe that for themselves, that they are worth it, and their self-esteem and their confidence is starting to build back up, and then they can start to feel good about themselves again, and then they can maintain some sobriety and feel good about themselves.
I'm curious, Chris, because you work in both group settings with the group therapy and then individual therapy as well. I can see where the group therapy strengthens numbers. People have a story to tell and they can relate to each other. What's the difference when you do a one-on-one therapy? Does it go a little bit deeper, or how does that work?
Yeah, the one-on-one therapy is a little bit deeper, definitely. Some people don't like to open up and share too much in those group settings. That's why sometimes at the Robert Alexander Center we have women's group, and then we have a men's group, so where it's just the men in one group, and then there's just the females in another group, and then a male therapist will run the men's group, and a female therapist will run the female group, and they get more in depth, and talk about things that they might not necessarily share about with, a female president or with a male president. And then obviously in the one-on-one setting is when we could talk about things that are much deeper, their underlying issues, whether it's trauma, things that they've been through in their life, things that are affecting them. Because that's the main issue on why people drink and use drugs, is their underlying issues, their trauma, any mental health, neglect, abuse that they've sustained, and those are the things that we talk about in those, the one-on-one therapeutic sessions.
That makes sense to me. Yeah. So you, instead of just putting a Band-Aid on it, it's like, okay, let's find out why you're attracted to kind of escaping, right? And it's like, if you have issues, let's talk about those and let's work it out a little bit. That makes sense to me.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't mind, Chris, a little bit about your story. And I don't mean to delve too deeply here, but I think it is important for people who are maybe going through it, they can relate to someone who's been through it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in sobriety myself. I'm in recovery. I've struggled with drugs and alcohol in the past, and again, that's my main motivator. That's the reason I'm so passionate, because there was a point where I was so hopeless, and I didn't know that there was this new way of life. So that's why I do what I do, to help other people, to give them hope. And yeah, so I've struggled with drugs and alcohol. I'm in sobriety. I'm in recovery, and I had a lot of underlying issues. I had a lot of things that I didn't know I needed to work on. I thought I just needed to put down the drink or the drug. I thought once I stop drinking, once I stop using drugs, I'm going to be all good, but there was a lot of character defects. There was a lot of underlying issues that, I didn't realize once I came into recovery that I needed to do. I didn't realize that not only does recovery and sobriety give me an opportunity to have drugs and alcohol removed from my life, but it's also going to help me become a better version of myself, and a more mature person, a responsible person, trustworthy person, honest person, a better dad. These are all the things that recovery has to offer, and that's why I'm so passionate, to let people know that, like, you could really just become just the best version of yourself, and we've been selling ourselves short for so long, you know, by putting drugs and alcohol in our bodies.
It's so evident that you found that your story is a good story. And for those who have loved ones or family members who want that kind of good outcome, what would you say separates Robert Alexander Center from other recovery facilities? What would you say, Chris?
I think it's I really believe it's from top to bottom, you know. It's the passion, it's the love, it's the customer service aspect, you know. It's the love that we show our clients, you know. It's not only does it for the clients, but for the staff members and for working there. You know, people above me are constantly coming to me. You know, I meet with my supervisor weekly to like check in with me, to make sure I'm doing okay, to make sure, you know, to see how I'm doing, to see if there's anything I need help with. You know, they're constantly there trying to make sure that I'm, you know, taking care of myself, because I'm only as good, you know, to my clients as I am to myself. So they're constantly on top of that, making sure I'm taking care of myself, seeing if there's anything that I need in order to be the best version of myself in the work environment, you know. And then obviously it's everybody at the Robert Alexander Center. The majority of the people at the Robert Alexander Center that work there are also in recovery, you know. So not only do we have like the, you know, the actual knowledge of, you know, struggling with substances, but we also have like the educational piece as well. And so it's just from top to bottom, the Robert Alexander Center's just incredible, you know.
I love hearing that. Yeah, it's kind of a combination between compassion and proven techniques that work for the best possible outcome. So tell me about this Float for Recovery. What's that all about?
Oh, Float for Recovery. So that is July 30th. It's going to be in St. Paul, Indiana. It's pretty much the biggest recovery event of the year, and it's just going to be so much fun. It's just such a good way to get plugged in, get engaged, you know, meet people, have fun, because having fun in sobriety is a real thing. You know, people think, well, I'm going to get clean and sober. How am I going to have fun? How am I going to enjoy my life? And, you know, there's just so many things that I engage in, you know, specific activities. You know, I do all types of things. I do young people in recovery, YPR. We do like ultimate frisbee, dodgeball. I mean, we go around the city and pick up needles and just clean up the city. So there's so much fun to be had in sobriety and in recovery. And then Float for Recovery, like I said, is one of the biggest it's one of the biggest sober events of the year.
It's like a celebration of recovery and living this new life. So,
oh yeah.
With our final minute here, Robert Alexander, how did they get the name? How did it originate? I've never asked that of anyone.
So the Robert Alexander got its name. The people that that had the idea to start this treatment center, to start this facility, they had a friend that passed away. His name was Alex Buki, and that's how Robert Alexander Center got their name. And so it was like I wasn't friends with him personally, but to see the passion and the drive that the owners have, like to start this project and to start this facility, based on, you know, their friend that tragically passed away, that resonates with me, and that gives me my drive. You know, that hits home with me to like kind of do what, you know, to just help people and give back to the community.
Chris, thank you.
Yes, sir.
You know, for sharing your story, man. I think it's important. It takes courage, and also it does help others to know that, hey, look at this guy, man. He's a winner, and congratulations to you. This new life, you've got new goals, and my goodness, and you're still having fun.
Oh, absolutely.
And
so much fun. Yes.
We have fun. Yeah,
so much fun.
All right.
Yes,
once
sir.
again, the Robert Alexander Center for Recovery. Chris, of course, there is a drug and alcohol counselor, both in a group setting and individual. Give them a call today.